All right, so again, today we're going to focus on cell transport. We have already discussed passive and active. We're just going to get into more detail. I'm going to show you some pictures and clips, and then we're going to focus on osmosis today. So today you're going to be able to investigate and explain cellular processes, including homeostasis and the transport of molecules. So again, yesterday we talked about passive and active. Remember, passive has 3 types. We only see 2 here, diffusion and facilitated diffusion, but there's also osmosis. And then we have active, active transport is one of them. And then we have endocytosis and exocytosis. So both of these transport systems have 3 individual transport systems within their grouping. So diffusion, again, it's with small molecules. They're going with the concentration gradient. So they always go from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. And they're going to keep moving these small molecules until everything's spread out evenly. We're not going to watch the whole video. I'm just going to fast forward to I can't zoom in. Okay, but this is diffusion. We add a small drop of coloring, food coloring, and then the particles are going to spread out until everything is even. So again, that's just diffusion. It works with small molecules and it goes from a high concentration to a low concentration. Then we have facilitated diffusion. This is for our larger molecules. They still go from high concentration to low concentration, but they're so large they can't fit through the lipids, so they have to go through a protein channel. So again, they're too big to fit through the lipids, so they're going to need to go through a protein channel, and that's kind of like the gate. And it still goes from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. Then we have osmosis. Osmosis is only for water molecules. Water itself wants to be evenly spread out, and I don't mean at equal levels. So right here in this picture on the left side, water is at equal levels. Well, that's not what water wants. Water doesn't want to be at equal levels. Water wants to be at equal concentration. So it wants the same ratio from particles to water to be balanced. So on my left side, we have a lot more water compared to the particles that are floating around it. And on my right side, we have a lot more molecules than the water in the membrane or in the cell. So over time, water is going to keep going through the semi-permeable membrane, only the water, until the water molecule distribution is the same percentage. So this is what water wants to be at. This is equilibrium to water. Not these equal levels, but the ratio from molecules to water. So again, water is just going to continue to move through the semi-permeable membrane. Until all the ratios are balanced. All right, so now we're getting to active transport. And again, active transport needs energy. It's a lot harder because it's going against the gradient. When I mean against the gradient, it's not going from high to low, it's going from low to high. So it's trying to fight to get in the crowded area. And to do that, it's going to need energy. This is a sodium potassium pump. This is one of the active transport pumps that helps push potassium and sodium. So here we see sodium on the outside, potassium on the inside. Or did I say that backwards? Can't see, those are too small. Either way, red's on the out, blue's on the inside. So in order to send the red out to the higher concentration, it's gonna need ATP. That's gonna serve as like a little key that opens up the potassium sodium pump, and it's gonna be able to send those molecules out to the higher concentration. So again, it goes from low to high, but it needs energy to do that. It needs the ATP molecules to open up that pump to get it going. Endocytosis is a type of active transport. So this is where the cell membrane engulfs particles and it brings it into the cell. And this is what I was talking about when I said engulfing. This is like my favorite movie. So this is what the cell's doing. It's bringing the particles inside of it. That's engulfing. That's endocytosis. And in order to do this, it does need energy because, again, we're bringing in large molecules. There are two types of endocytosis. We have phagocytosis, which brings in the large molecules, and then we have pinocytosis, which brings in the liquid. Because sometimes around the cell, we need to bring in that liquid, and it's too large to pass through the cell membrane, so again, it needs to be engulfed. So again, phagocytosis and pinocytosis. Another type of active transport is exocytosis. This is the opposite of endocytosis. Instead of bringing things in, we're going to push things out. So the Golgi apparatus is going to package the waste, it's going to package the proteins, it's going to package whatever needs to leave the cell. It's going to package it in a membrane, and that membrane is going to fuse with the cell's membrane. Once it fuses, it's going to push everything out outside of the cell. This is a little amoeba that's showing exocytosis. They're just leaving the cell through the cell membrane. That's exocytosis. So this is a little clip because I love this guy. So that's endocytosis because it brought it inside. That's exocytosis because it left. Again, endocytosis goes in, exocytosis goes out. Like I said, these are a lot of vocabulary terms. Make flashcards. Remember, you can do the online flashcards through Quizlet.com, or you can make your own flashcards. That's how endocytosis works. Bringing in materials. And then this is how white blood cells works the same way. We don't need to see that. And this is how exocytosis works. Again, the membrane fuses with the vesicle. And then it releases all the molecules, all the waste, all the proteins. All right, so go ahead and fill in my Venn diagram for passive and active transport. You don't need to write everything down. You can just write the letters for me. Just go ahead and write the letters. Good job, whoever this one is. You're doing great. This one too, good job. This one too, good job. Yes, good job. Tyler, why aren't you working on it?
Oh, there's no need to sign up for that.
You're not paying attention. Evan, why aren't you working on it? All right, so y'all are doing great. I'm gonna go ahead and tell y'all the answers so that way we can move on. High to low is passive transport. Low to high is active. Exocytosis is active. Requires energy is active. Helps the cell maintain homeostasis. That's both passive and active transport. They both help the cell maintain homeostasis. Facilitated diffusion is passive. Endocytosis is active. Diffusion is passive. Osmosis is passive. They both use a protein pump. Passive and active, again, both use a protein pump. ATP is for active and moves molecules across the cell membrane. That's both of them. They both move molecules across the membrane. And we don't need to do that one. All right, so now we're going to talk about osmosis and the 3 types of solutions for osmosis. Again, osmosis is a passive transport and it diffuses water, and it goes from a high concentration of water to a lower concentration of water. This is just the water molecule moving through the membrane. Remember I said lipids do not like water, so they're going to try and get it out as fast as they can. The lipids are repelling it, and it's going to eventually fight its way through the membrane. When I do that. Okay, so the first type of solution for osmosis is hypotonic solution. And I love thinking about hippos when I think of hypo, because it's going to gobble up all of the water. This is when we have a higher concentration in the cell. So the water wants to go into the cell. Sometimes this is a bad thing because it can cause the cell to burst open if it has too much water. Next, we have isotonic solution. This is where the solution inside the cell and outside the cell are equal. They're balanced. So the water's going in and out at an equal rate. This is the equilibrium. This is the peaceful side. This is what makes the cells happy. And then finally we have, sorry, that's a typo. That should say hypertonic solution, not isotonic. So this is hypertonic solution. This is when the water leaves the cell. The cell's getting drained, basically. And that's because we have a higher concentration outside of the cell. So the water wants to go outside of the cell. All right, so go ahead and match the osmosis solutions with their correct concepts. Good job, good job. Some of you are finally getting all of them. So osmosis is the movement of water molecules. It is passive transport. When water leaves the cell, it's draining it. So that's a hypertonic solution. When the concentration inside is the same as the outside, that's isotonic. That's when everything's equal. And if the solution has a higher concentration inside the cell, that's hypo, because the water's going to go in it. So there is another simulation that I'm going to post. Go ahead and play around with that later when you have time. We're talking about hypotonic, isotonic, and hypertonic solutions. All right, so again, go ahead and label the picture for me. Good job. Oh, you erased it. Good job. Good job. All right, so majority of you are getting them all right. Good job. All right, so this one, can y'all see that? So this one is hypotonic, this one is isotonic, and this one is hypertonic. Good job. All right, go ahead and do your assignment for today. I'm sorry these notes took longer than I thought they would. Let me know if you need help on anything.